All right, let me pull it up, make sure it's on. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm look. I opened my phone and it's this meme I shared. It says, "Incarnate on Earth," they said. "Ascension is great," they said. And the lady's like scratching her head. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Mm, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. It's not on there yet. Hmm. Okay. Give me a second.
No worries. Take your time. Take your time.
Let me check. All right. Hang on a second. We've been getting squashed a little bit
Okay.
recently. We're not on. Oh no, they're on.
Okay.
They're on. There's already 30 people here. Okay. Well, for some reason, I'm not getting it. Huh. All right. Well, we'll just have to live with that. It's probably reception over here. Maybe that's what it is. All right. So I can't see all the comments yet. I'm sure I'll catch up in a minute. But let me go ahead and formally roll the show out. And let me just first say that I've been wanting to do this show with my brother here for quite a while, ever since I met him, or really before I met him. I think I met Honey first, and yeah, and I don't know, it just has been something that's been sitting there, and it wouldn't go away. And it's interesting because I was sitting here going, "How in the hell did I end up in Kauai?" You know, and of course, I went to the Thousand Goddess Gathering, and I was able to see you there, and I went back in my in my memory bank, and I said, yeah, I know I got the message. You're supposed to go to Hawaii. I've told the story, like, how am I going to get there? And then I was given this gift, of a really cheap ticket. But then I was like, how did I end up in Kauai? How did I end up 5 miles from Lisa Transcendence Brown? And how did I ended up with this person and that person? And I remember I was having a conversation with you, and you told me about it. You said, go to Kauai. And I'm like, what? Yeah. So thank you for that, brother. Let me formally roll the show out. All
Okay.
right. Todd Medina, Soul Speaks 5D. It's a conversation today with my brother, Michael Abramson. And it's a pleasure to have him here. I'm looking forward to this conversation. And thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you, brother. I first of all just want to start with just for the deep gratitude of being honored and just inspired by you, Todd, of being on this show, offering my deepest love and gratitude to my beloved Honey Borden, because if it wasn't for Honey, I would not be sitting here. So I just want to thank both of you, because I feel it's interesting how when one beautiful light being meets another, that vibration expands. And for
Yeah,
this opportunity to speak, it's amazing. I know that when we met, there was this feeling of already knowing you. And when we speak,
of course.
this activation that we get to share. And I just am honored for all those that are watching that get to share this activation and just the beauty and the harmony of what I feel as brothers, Todd, the opportunity just to share what's happening within our lives and speak the truth, to speak from our hearts. So thank you, Todd. I'm really honored to
Yeah.
be on the show.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it was quite a interesting, uh, you know, connection over there, because we arrived, and we're talking about the Thousand Goddess Gathering that Mayor Cromwell and a bunch of other people put on, not just in D.C. but also around the world. That was very successful. And Michael Van Patten and I pulled up at from a lift. We took a lift, and we actually walked right there at the time. It started at 11 o'clock, and I ended up locking eyes with Michael Abramson, and yeah, it was really cool. It was an incredible experience, very activating experience, and there's something to be said for connecting on the physical that has a lasting effect, like you were saying earlier. Two people meet, and then they expand, and they take it with them. Yeah. So, yeah, that was all about the goddesses, and we all love and respect that and know what that means. internally inside all of us. And I was anxious to speak with you one-on-one because of your journey. You're in a divine conscious union, but what is that? What does the whole thing look like? What has it looked like from the physical male incarnation, divine masculine, as he's traversed this last couple of years? I think I saw something the other day. Y'all had a 2-year anniversary. Is that right?
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like we've had a 2-year anniversary, but for some reason, Honey and I feel like we've known each other for over 11,000 years, because every time, as I know with you and Morgan, there's these experiences that happen, and we're like, okay, this is from Atlantis, this is from Lemuria. There's these just sensations that happen that I just feel honored and blessed to really be on this path, because Honey has given really the full permission. When I say permission, Todd, I feel in this era we're all being pushed to express our true self, really to be the fullness of our expression. And it's funny because, I grew up with some very spiritual, new age, hippie family that gave me the perfect foundation. Placed me in spiritual schools, drove across country in vortexes, and it was funny. It's like the hippie parents that are smoking herb. Hey, let's check this out. Let's do a meditation. Yeah. Very, very like 4 times.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that part of your journey. No wonder you had a head start on me.
You would appreciate it, Todd, because my family, I felt very blessed in the incarnation that came forward, because they really were ahead of those times. When you think of the Ram Dass heirs, and when they were using psychedelics to expand their consciousness and to really see those qualities that now we know we don't have to rely on outer substances, yet they were doing that in their, let's say, heyday. I mean, they literally quit their jobs, drove across Canada eating the best Colombian mushrooms to see if they were meant for each other. And then they came back home. They came back home and they said,
sounds like a hell of a love story to me, baby.
They came home and they raised 2 children on a farm. Literally, I'm incarnated on the farm, on the ground, and brought forward this journey. Yet it's funny, Todd, because it was in the most huckleberry, country conservative area. So as all this was being brought into me, there wasn't really the support around me because of how conservative, how Bible Belt. I mean, Maryland, Baltimore metropolitan area, I would love to envision like a Sedona, a Mount Shasta, areas that you can really support. But through my teenage years, I felt like I had to kind of go into the spiritual closet, because when I started discussing the meditations or when being placed in a Reiki class at a very young age, people just, they didn't understand me, or they made fun of me. Oh, you're a hippie child, woo-woo. They didn't quite accept me for who I was. So I feel in the past 2 years meeting Honey, it's given the full permission now to really come out and express without feeling this judgment, feeling this shame or guilt, because, we know that when we speak our truth, there is still that mental body that ego that we're shifting into the heart. And that ego still has those old programs, those old conditions, the moment that I'm still going through. And so meeting Honey, it's been a blessing, because now not only do we get to serve together, but I feel answering your question, Todd, in the divine masculine, it's coming out in the godlike nature that we are.
Yeah.
Each one of us, from goddess to god, we're giving the permission now to express that in our fullness. And I feel with Honey, as you see in her vibration, in her devotion, it is, I find, one of the biggest gifts, because I've been dreaming about this my whole life. How can I not only meet my soulmate and beloved, but how can I serve in a way that when we meet, there's no holding back anymore? There's no like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I know many of us are on the path that we have our day jobs. We have areas that we may not be in our full expression capacity. But now, as you see, this is the time to really just peel everything back and fully be seen, to come out of who we are. And it's been such a blessing for Honey and I to come together, because you have noticed amazing, crazy things have been happening. And I see that with you and Morgan. I see that with him happening. Like, the universe is opening up in such ways that these gifts, the call of the awakening, what's happening on a collective is I call it lights out right now.
Yeah.
We are moving into a phase as we know that it's now happening. Now
Or lights on.
lights on.
Lights on, man. There ain't nowhere for the shadow to run now. It's like that's like I was trying to turn the light off in here, man. I don't know what's happening. I don't have any sunshine coming through the way the house is positioned where I'm at.
Well,
But I don't know.
Go to Kauai. I after living for 17 years within a mile of the ocean, I really am really thankful for that experience, because what I learned is when you're by the water, there's such a power of that ocean, that frequency of the emotions that we go through, because as you know, water connects to emotion. And when we're around the largest element around the world, Mama Ocean speaks to you. She's the source that gives you that opportunity to walk down and catch a sunrise. And feel the embracement of it. It's something that, I mean, even as like a surfer, I would be out in that water every day, just being like, oh, ocean love, give it to me, because it's, you know, it's a medicine. So congratulations, brother. I'm following your heart. And go on there.
I'm going to go out there today. I've only, I'd be embarrassed to say how many times I've been out there in the last, since I've been here about a month. But when I have gone, it's been very intense. Well, maybe that's a little bit of the wrong word, but it's been well, it's been intense. It's been dimensional, multidimensional. And, but yeah, there's definitely, when I got to the island, definitely a strong, matriarchal mother goddess presence and lots of dragons. Yes. So maybe Honey and I can talk about that on a show in the near future, but, yeah. So, and I actually, there's a gentleman that, has been here a number of years. He's actually from, the Bay Area, and, he's a surfer. I think he's about 42, and I'm going to try to do a show with him here in the near future. But it's interesting to go down there to the cliff. There's a cliff about 5 minutes, 5-minute walk down the street here, and so you get there, and there's this cliff, and you're overlooking kind of a cove, I guess. I don't know what you would call these things, or a little bay. And on the other side, there's a cliff, and the way the waves hit, that's where the biggest waves are. So you see this trail of surfers. The first time I saw them, I was like, what are those animals, man? What is that, like bobbing up? They're like penguins, or, you know, do they float? And then I realized they were surfers. And but to see the relationship they have with the water, which ultimately, you know, ultimately as you macro out as the universe, I mean, it's incredible to see that that magic, you know. So I can only imagine that being part of your journey, and then having the hippie parents prior to that. So you're just living the fairy tale now, having met Honey.
It is.
But no, I was just saying that was 2 years ago. And yeah, so I mean, well, you know, just in the last when was the Goddess Gathering? October 20th? Hasn't been very long. What happened to linear time, man? But since then, I've seen a lot, you know, this masculine energy. I'm speaking not incarnations. I'm speaking the frequency. This masculine energy this divine masculine energy is rising. I see it. I see it, and I see the play with the divine feminine frequency. And what's that look like to you after your journey? What are you seeing out there?
Well, what I feel personally is I feel this call, this thirst of this just wanting to fully own what's coming through. When I say coming through, ever since I was a child, Todd, I just believed wholeheartedly that we had these superpowers, that we had these major, incredible gifts, that we're here to shine and we're here to come out. I mean, I was so imaginary. I was like, there's a fireman out there, there's an iceman out there, there's like these characters, this imagination. Within these past months, I just feel there's been this deep call personally, I can only speak from my personal experience, of really wanting to not only go into this incarnation, but really go deep into all incarnations, and through the thanks of God and the divine, and really be grateful to call upon all of those and bring that forward in our highest level of expression so that we can support, we can honor, we can protect our sacred feminine and divine, because we know right now it is a rise that both are honoring and respecting. We see it in our culture, we see it, and I don't pay attention a lot to politics, but I know when you were in DC, you were across from one of the most powerful grid line areas of the Washington Monument, if not in the world, in the country. There's a lot of dense energies that you felt and we feel. I mean, these past 2 years, I will be honest, after living by the beach and living driving the motorcycle, having an outdoor office, being placed into the DC metropolitan area, I know as a light worker, we have work to do. It's not about stepping back and being in the comfort zone anymore. What I see is I see being pushed into the discomfort to wash the debris that are now coming through so that our higher self, our higher powers now can come forward. And I personally feel the more that I recognize that with passion, within self-love, and just being okay with my own shit, looking at myself and telling myself, okay, there's the guilt, there's the shame.
That's why they said, that's why they took you from the penthouse of the earth to the outhouse.
and what's great is, if this ego is mischief and doesn't catch it, guess who's going to catch it for me?
Yeah.
Because I have a reminder every day. I mean, I really believe that as in a divine union, it's, they always say, if you want spiritual training, go live with your family for a couple of days. I say step it a step further. If you want the highest level of training, place yourself in a divine relationship, because that is ultimately going to show the mirror. It's going to show the areas that you're not going to be able to get away with. I know I don't get away with it when I'm in my mental body. There you go.
It is a mirror, and that's the biggest thorn and the biggest blessing. But it's true, because we're all mirrors. But I mean, I can totally relate to that. And I can totally relate to that. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And and that's why I say, it's fascinating to me. You guys have been together 2 years. Yeah. I mean, physically, you've been together 2 years, right?
We feel like on an energetic level, we've lived so many lifetimes.
Oh yeah.
As you remember, we barely knew each other, and we were already out on sacred sites in very powerful Mayan land,
and
feeling the blessing,
sleeping in the same bed, but stay on your side.
The Iron Islamic curtain was placed forth, and I was like, I'm just here to
I remember that show. That was very funny. You're like, oh, and she was like, she's beautiful. Now you work a lot with you have a practitionership. I mean, you do some things, Archangel Michael healing. Can you talk about that a little bit? What is that? How did you receive that?
So, as most people hear the name Archangel Michael healing, I describe that name because it was a powerful transformation of Archangel Michael through my beloved Honey, which, as you know, is a fully incorporated channel. The biggest gift that I felt that has transformed my whole healing career, because I started from sports medicine, then I went to Chinese medicine, and Chinese medicine brought me into shamanic medicine. And to all the healings, it felt like there was this expansion. As like the dragon brings their wings up and expands, it feels like there's this been expansion of bringing forth what's been growing within. So literally, powerful date, 7/17/17, July 7th, 17, I was literally giving Honey a normal acupuncture session, working with some energy through my hands, and she went to a full incorporated channel where Archangel Michael came through and directed and spoke to me, where I was in tears, completely from the vibration, directing me what to do with the hands and also the toes of the body, which is very interesting, Todd, because the acupuncture meridians, obviously, yeah, we have the main front and back, but there's also the ones that connect from the beginning at the end of our hands. And from an energetic standpoint, we know this is not just physical body, we have mental, emotional, ethereal. So what ended up happening is, as Archangel Michael came through and just holding point, continuing the healing with honey, as she was making sound, I was then going through each finger as she was extending her hands, you know, making sound, and he was instructing, as we have placed on our book that we will put out in the video or in the sound, that this transformational, multidimensional healing is really allowing individuals to clearly release all the obstructions, all the blockages, all of what we hold within ourselves, conditioned beliefs, fears, worries, pain, but not only from this lifetime, from all lifetimes. He spoke about how humans have held all of the pain and suffering within their hands and feet, which is interesting, Todd, because the hands that we serve and the feet that we walk, and it's not released, it's held within our body.
Yeah.
So what has taken for me is I've transformed my whole acupuncture practice and now have been guided to fully not only work in the direct alignment with Archangel Michael, which I spoke to receiving a channel recently about our deep relationship, him wanting to now take it to another level of long distance, which I'm in that beginner mode and allowing that to unfold in nature. But this allows the fifth dimensional frequency to come through our body, as we know, conduits from heaven to earth, to then clear and connect. And I'll tell you, Todd, it's been so unbelievable of what people have been experiencing, because when individuals clear the debris, if you can imagine like a drain, a pipe that's been clogged, when that energy, mental, emotional, spiritual, ethereal, has been cleared through the body, then it reveals and opens our innate spiritual gifts, which we've seen everything from pregnancy, women trying to get pregnant, to tumors disappearing, to individuals releasing deep, deep lifetimes of pain and suffering. I mean, moments that where past life regressions have happened, and I'm just like, wow, I'm learning, growing, and expanding, and then also realizing in the room, Todd, there's angels, there's ascended masters, there's this whole team that's working through me, because as we know, as the healer, we're just the facilitator. We're just the ones that are allowing that to come through. And I can't tell you how blessed and grateful, because I know this is just the beginning, as I was told. This is just the element, because this healing is not only for an individual. It's not only for clearing all ancestral pain, it's for the whole collective. And what is being brought forward is extremely, it's been the most powerful healing that I've ever come through. And I know it's just the beginning. It's very...
And you've been doing it hands-on, so to speak, for 15, 16 months. Now you're saying you're making a transition to be able to do this through the ethers. Right?
Yeah, because what has been guided, and I'm still integrating what came through it. As you know, when big channels come through, before I can fully express it, I also have to embody it. You know, my beloved honey, you know, really gave me some beautiful confidence, because the next day I could feel my ego getting into it. Like, wow, what's this mean? What's this?
I'm going to be a badass now.
it was more the questioning of like, what do you think, you know, terms mean? And it was beautiful, because she caught the mischief ego. She caught the curiosity, because before we can fully own and be the embodiment of it, we really have to go inward to harness it and to harness what has been moving through. And so I do know that through a powerful friend, thank you, Reverend Anna Jones, that Archangel Michael has been coming through her, which she's been channeling for 20 years, to contact me and to reveal the message of our relationship, of the deepening and connection to come forth, so that not only can I do this on a local level, but now I can do this on an international and global level that's going to affect individuals, and it won't be the same, yet it will hold a different vibration and frequency through the long distance, which, to be honest, in my own humility, I've just been hands-on as a massage therapist, personal trainer, acupuncture, shamanic practitioner for the past 20 some years. Now, taking this role to bring it forth long distance is going to be the next evolution, because I realize that's going to expand even more gifts of the ethereal, what's going to come in through light language, what's going to come through just my own gifts. So I know that is now surfacing through, and like everything else, before the ego wants to like say, oh, well, now I'm going to start doing long distance healing.
Well, but that fits with what's happening collectively. We talked about it on the show before this with Yukia. You know how it's you know, it's just changing rapidly. So that fits, you know, because the linear aspect is leaving. Now these the clients that you've had over the last 15, 16 months, that, you know, I would imagine gives you a pretty good snapshot on a personal level as to what's happening, you know, kind of like the same way Dolores Cannon or Allison Coe, you know, interpret the collective energies through their client relationship. Do you see the change or changes over the last, you know, 15, 16 months as you work with clients in terms of what's happening collectively?
Yes, thank you, Todd. That's a very good question, because what I see as a collective is, you know, there's a lot of debris that's being burned. As you know already, there is such a fierce level of light shining. As well, there is dark. And I really feel there's this tipping point where the light is shining so hard that dark is just trying to grasp onto its strongest to block this light right now. We know that light is just, it's pouring out, and darkness is just holding for dear life to block that light. And what I see in these sessions are individuals are really releasing energies that are affecting and is what is affecting our collective. And what I mean by that, let's just talk about, you know, as you see, there's a lot of things within America, from women's rights, from the politics, and just what has been surfacing in our media and on the political scene. And I don't like to go too deep into that because it's a whole other arena.
Yeah,
but
I got you.
It's amazing to see, as those that are opening up and releasing their own experiences that are not aware of, their own sexual abuse, their own lack of expression, their own limited perspectives. I now see that on a collective, because those that I'm working with, and this is what's really powerful, Todd, a lot of that are working with has been the dream of to work with light workers and those that are ready to really be the fullest expression of their divine qualities. And I call it almost kind of like the collective domino effect, when our vibrations can equally affect others, and then it's like this, it goes outwardly, and it starts to work within all the communities and all the realms. And I'm grateful, because with my beloved Honey, that's had a community before I met her throughout internationally, we've been able to go to different communities, different countries, as you've seen, different sacred areas, and see how these healings are not only opening up individuals, but you know what's powerful, Todd? We're going into spaces, sometimes they're closing down, sometimes they're starting. This energy that's done in the space then opens up a portal within their own center. And that portal then opens up into the prosperity, the abundance, and brings forth. Like when I was at this place, Crystal Cognizant, our dear friend Ariella walked in, she's like, wow, this room, this feels so empowered. And I said, what happens in this room? I'm only seeing from a small perspective, from my limited. Yeah. I know there's a deeper level. I mean, there's Absolutely. No accident that Honey and I live on Crystal Hill Circle above a crystal field. And at the end of our street, Crystal Rock Drive, the Department of Energy is there. So we're kind of funny how we're on a field.
Yeah.
express this in our own private healing room, but also
Yeah.
collective level. So thank you, Ty. That's a great.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You're welcome, and thank you for that answer. I mean, there's no doubt that you're placed, from a higher level in the play. See, you did it the other way. You surfed for 10 or 12 years, and then you're going to go live in the most dense area. I'm the other way around. I don't think I'm going to.
It's so funny to look at where I was and look around with me, because I always have this little excuse my ego wants to say, well, honey, I've been living in sun and fun and just the ideal lifestyle, the beach, and now when that call comes forward and says, okay, visa that you thought was going to be permanent, life shows you, nope, the visa's dropped, that the divine's talking, that it's time to now move forward. And like the alchemist, you go back sometimes where you were born, not sometimes, you come back to where the incarnation started, back here in good old Maryland.
Yeah. Candyland.
It may not be this ideal. It may not be the most ideal place, but I feel as light workers, we're called exactly where we're supposed to be.
That's right. And I think that's another thing that's obviously happening. People are being moved around by their own volition or by the push from the universe. There's a lot of, quote unquote, strange things happening and things like that's supporting the overall collective plan. Now, in particular, well, first of all, I would imagine that your clientele, on a personal level, is probably reflective proportionally to what you see in the light keeper circles, which is probably 65%, 70% female, and the rest being male. Have you seen that number going up? And what in particular are you seeing in the male energy? The masculine energy, be it a male or a female, but for the most part, it's going to be represented in the male incarnation, I would imagine. But what are you seeing there, and are you seeing the numbers go up?
It's a great question, Todd, because me and you know that within this service, we should say, not even work, in the light work community, we do see the dominance in the feminine energies. Everywhere from our spiritual classes to our involvement, there is a large feminine energy that's there. And I feel, as you know, from the feminine perspective, the creator, the one that holds the space for the masculine, that right now the population I work with is geared at a higher percentage of the feminine energy. Now, that's not to say that there are masculine and those that are rising. I am getting more clients within the male perspective, but to really hone on the masculine and feminine, because we both know that's within us, each of us. There's also a portion that I feel, as we know, there's a lot of feminine energy which is very masculinized. There's a lot of energy where, as we know, due to the pain, the suffering, and really, Todd, what we've done, not us, but what the masculine energy has done for thousands of years, there's been this repression on the feminine energy, so that it's forced the feminine to emasculate and almost compete. And so what's been beautiful is to work within a lot of the feminine energies and to release the pain and suffering of all the masculine energies that have come forward. I also know that in my agreement, I would say in 2012, I went on one of the most powerful journeys, my initiation of shamanic journeys. And I was given a very powerful, let's just say, contract of what's to come forward. And when I met Honey, she even sees it within me is to now step forward in becoming and arising as a leader of the masculine divine, as you are a leader, as men are now arising, as we've seen even from a great post that Morgan shared, that right now men are now stepping up in ways before that these gifts are coming forward. Now's the time to rise. So I definitely am very eager, very excited to focus on the male, even if it's conscious or unconscious, because it's all one. It's very easy to have the conscious groups around. And like you said, yes, this healing does attract a very conscious, very evolved group. Now it's to see how to expand that for the unconscious, because those are the areas we need to work on as well. It's just with this healing, it does evolve a certain level of, you have to be ready to release. You have to go within yourself to make the sounds as I'm working with the fingers, to use the vibration of what our godlike nature is, so that we're releasing that. Because those that come in that's just looking for an acupuncture session, I may just create a simple shamanic acupuncture, which I'm clearing, doing hands-on healing. But the Archangel Michael healing is really for those that are looking to step forward in their godlike nature, to release and to fully let go, which sometimes is the hardest process for a lot of people, because we have to go through the emotions, go through the pain and suffering. But on the other side, Todd, what I'm seeing is absolutely magical. People come out, they're vibrating in ways they've never felt before. So I feel honored that it can happen. And I'm, putting out the receptors of how I can now increase more of the masculine. And even myself coming forth more, as I spoke about in my first live stream, of how I can be more vocal of what's coming through, especially through what, as you know, all the channels that have been coming through honey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said earlier, because this is one thing I've observed. And I think a lot of, for me, the biggest activations we get, period, are the ones that we give to each other. And it seems to me, with the work I do, that that's based on just having a conversation just like this and saying, hey, this is what I'm experiencing, or this is what I'm seeing. I'm not, I'm not, advocating this or advocating that. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. And you said something. So you talked about how the feminine, and we'll just go ahead, because for the most part, it works that way, for the most part, female incarnation, feminine energy. We know there's exceptions, obviously, and we respect that. Now, but her role became, she was carrying the masculine part of it, especially if you looked into, like, say, the family breakdown in America or whatever. So what I'm observing is this masculine energy rising. And I say that within myself. I say that within what I observe in the work that I do. I see this, that it's really rising, that it's really coming up. And at the same time, I'm seeing that it's apparent in that feminine incarnation, because she had to carry the masculine for so long. And I'm seeing different plays on that. I'm seeing one is where they're not in a relationship because it's gone that deep. They're kind of like, I do both, whatever. And then there's this other one where I'm starting to see that the good stress, the good pressure of the masculine rising, and what it's doing to the feminine that had to carry the weight. And it's interesting, and I've got no right answer or wrong answer here, or anything. I'm just saying I'm seeing that. And I would imagine that in your practice that you're seeing these vibrations because you work so closely. Do you see what I'm talking about in the feminine energy, this masculine energy rising, and the impression, or the good stress it's putting on the equation?
When you speak about the masculine energy, what's interesting, and I look at when I look at like masculine energies, and when they come into universal alignment, and one thing that I'm very aware of is, I feel because there's been such a emasculation in both sides.
Yes, true.
There's been this masculine energy, and what that does is, when you think of masculine, you think of the doer, the actor, you think of that energy. When you think of the feminine energy, it's the love, it's the yin, it's the creator. And what's amazing is, as the masculine, I feel, is in, like, say, within the feminine energies, when the emasculated is balanced, that actually brings the rise of the feminine energy within the feminine. The same within the masculine energy. When there's a balance of the emasculated within the male energy, there's a rise of this feminine energy. And what I feel in this feminine energy, as we know, it's this journey through love. It's this journey that, through love, it's really the unconditional love that we're practicing every single day, in every action, in every moment. As Honey and I were talking when we were going through Morocco and just getting hit back and forth, back and forth. And we're saying, you know, ascension is really about how each and every day we are reacting to what's coming before us. How are we reacting against the person that's speaking this way? How are we reacting against our ego? What is happening in our compassionate side, our loving side, our accepting side, our surrendering side, and allowing that? Because a lot of times when I look at the masculine, it's rising. But we also have to look at within the doing, there's also the stillness of the yin and the yang energies. And I equate that back to the Eastern levels because I look a lot of what I was trained in the Far East, which the masters, the Confucius, really brought in this balance of yin and yang. And I really find when we look at the masculine and look at the feminine, it's really seeing how can we balance each of those qualities within us so we're in that state of balance and not moving from extreme from one end to the other. Right. Initially, it's trying to limit that chaos, which right now there's quite a bit out there. There's a lot of bit of chaos out there that's distracting our inner growth, which is I find it's the gift that we get to ascend through that. That's our human experience.
Yeah. That's like the door.
That is the door, and no better, Todd, through the holidays, because I don't know what happens between, you know, Thanksgiving to Christmas to Hanukkah to all the things. It's like this merge of energies just keeps speeding up, and all this chaos starts to pull in directions. I'm sure you felt it. All the stuff that's been happening the past couple of days. It's been
oh, the last few days, yeah. Well, you know, that's a good point. As we go into December, I asked Yuki on the last show, "What do you think December's going to look like?" And you just said what you said, and that's a perfect representation because if you think about it, from what is it? You know, Thanksgiving, or December. It's holidays. It's family. Like Ram Dass says, you want to know if you're awake or go hang around your family. But so you have the extreme. So on one hand, you have the extreme dramatic, you know, social, cultural stuff that the 3D paradigm is and was, and then you have the other side of it. And that's what's fascinating to me, is that, you know, 444 in New York City right now. But that's what's fascinating to me is it seems to me that as this divine masculine energy has begun to rise, and I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, maybe 2 months, 3 months, it seems like there's and it's still working, like you said. It's like this balance. It's like a teeter-totter, you know, but it's there. Okay, it's there, and it seems like since that's occurred, the ability for us to process and get through these things with less judgment and less self-consciousness and all that stuff that's not real, that's held us back, seems to be it seems to be expanding, which only makes sense because the combination of the frequencies are expanding and their relationship to each other.
And you nailed it, Todd. I really say that the word that I find, we all know this is common sense, is our biggest limitations is our own self. And I appreciate that you said judgment, because in our own judgment, in the pressure we place on ourselves, on the bar that we lift through, it's really fascinating, especially with the work that I do, just to notice how much pressure we place on our own well-being, how much load we're placing on. And I almost find it's like this universal mastery matrix of saying, okay, we're going to speed the universe up. We're going to overstimulate your central nervous system so that your brain is being pulled in every direction, your spinal cord's moving in every direction, but underneath, it's now allowing yourself to go within to find that perfect balance. And right now, what's coming forward that I see on a very huge planetary level is really recognizing ourself. And one of the highest powers is our own love for ourselves, our own value for ourselves, our own appreciation, and our own level of how we can honor it, because it's so easy in this journey of love that I see so many, we see it naturally. So many families, we give so much love, but yet we forget to harness that love within because there's this judgment But if I place myself first, if I put myself in a way where I'm now honoring myself, valuing myself, respecting, there's this guilt, there's this shame, and there's this conditioned belief that there's something wrong because we're supposed to help everyone else, and not help ourselves. The wounded healer, as you know, that archetype. And so I feel that judgment is being clear on a collective level, because really it's that judgment that creates some of the harshest, lowest dense energy. Because what comes out of judgment? Shame.
Absolutely it does.
Guilt,
absolutely it does. There's no
see the collective as it's going through.
There's no doubt at all. I mean, that self-judgment. I was talking to another guy the other day. I don't want to mention any names, but very awake, full of light, and he had some self-deprecating comments. But what I noticed, and I think I even mentioned it to him, because a lot of people will say, hey, this person can do that, or they're more awake, or and I always tell them, if you're asking those questions and even seeing that, you're more awake than you think you are. But in this case, I noticed that he did not make judgmental comments about other people, and I've known him quite some time. He really doesn't, but he is tough on himself.
Right.
And to me, I felt like, that's really a good sign, because you've taken everyone else off the table, and you're only, that judgment is a lot like that Christmas family energy, because on the other side of that extreme is the gold. But yeah, you're right. And it sounds like what you do in your work is help people to release that, because that's the hardcore shadow, isn't it?
And and thank you for bringing that up, Ty, because what I also realize is it's the releasing of all of the times, because if you really think about our journey, right? Here we are, born in this, I call it a preconceived story, right? Like we come into this incarnation, and everything's already happening before us, right? So as we come in, our values are set, our programs are set. We come in just to the parents that we choose, the culture, the area for our own blueprint and our own mastery to move through these. And what's very powerful about this healing that's coming through is to understand that, this, we are standing in front of all of our ancestors, our mothers, our fathers, our aunts and uncles, and we're transforming all the things they did not or were not able to do. Because that, when we look at our parents and we look at the lack of self-love, or maybe the patriarchal society, the areas they were not able to consciously evolve, we are the next incarnations. You look at the children now, you look at the star seeds, they are much smarter than us. They're our teachers. Through this, what I'm seeing is, as this is being cleansed, the most powerful awakening that I've really recognized is, this is a light body regeneration, rejuvenation, reawakening, rebalancing, because we know underneath all this, we're just this light being a vibration of light. And as this debris of the shame, blame, guilt, resentment, fear, anxiety, worry, guilt, stress, all the fun stuff we get to deal with, it's like, here, have another. we take this on. And as individuals take more of it on, it's crucial that we honor the vibration of our light body, so that we keep expanding. Because what I recognize, and this has been something I'm honored with Honey, is as the channels keep coming forward through Honey, which I'm very blessed to be the conscious vessel of what's coming forward. These messages, Todd, are the remembrance of our God-like quality in us. These messages are coming forth to remind us that as we raise our light vibration, we start to open up the natural gifts and innate abilities that are already within us. The key is to honor our light vibration and to keep lifting. And of course, it's going to, take its turns like a wave. Like I always say, like when I'm surfing, I'm ready to go out and catch the biggest wave, right? And if I catch that wave and I'm in divine alignment, it's the most incredible, beautiful, majestic experience, in line with Mother Nature, in line with my heart, and just this. But as soon as my ego may want to challenge, or wants to do something showy, or wants to alter it by this mental energy, this limiting place, not from my heart, but from a limited perspective, the Mother Nature in that way will throw you down and teach you very quickly to honor what the universal forces are coming. That's why I love to surf so much, because I go out there and I feel like every day it's like me and Mama Earth being like, okay, I'm honoring you. I'm always respecting you. I'm of your service. Please show me how I can keep learning and evolving, because when you're surfing, you always know that it could be 1 second of the highest, most incredible feeling. And if you're in Hawaii around this time and you see those huge waves coming, in 2 seconds, you could be pulled down and fearing death, because it will show you real quickly when you're too much in your heads. And this is for all of us beautiful mental masculine energies. When we're so focused on that, then we're cutting off this lifeline, which we know where all the power starts in our hearts. And that's why I constantly feel that our journey is to, the message I keep receiving is follow your heart, stay to your heart, listen to your heart.
That's why I'm gonna surf the soup if I surf. I don't want anything to do with those big waves. No,
it's not necessary.
I mean, I'm kidding. I've had some experience with them in where I grew up in South Texas, and that's a great analogy. Yeah, it really is. I always use the one where you get thrown on the pavement, but I think the wave one. I mean, anyone that's been pulled into an undertow. I mean, I remember one time having an experience with my sister, and I basically saved her life. You know. Yeah. And I guess I saved my own too, but it was, yeah. You want to learn to have a little respect for Mother Nature, Mother Gaia, Mother Universe, Mother Goddess. Go swim in the ocean with the big waves.
And I've had that experience. That I've been experienced where the ego wants. It's almost like the symbolism where the mind wants to. We see it, and it wants to be attached to the superficial material. Like, I want the best wave. I want to capture the glory. I want this. Glorified moment, and right when you're ready to get the biggest wave, and then all of a sudden you're on it, and then at the most unopportunistic time it throws you down, and then you're being held down much more than what you can breathe, and you come up and you're like, oh my gosh, now I have to honor that this mind, this ego, can be very dangerous of what you want. You may want to step back to feel what you want to create versus want, because we know that feeling has a much higher vibration. Need to
feel what's coming rather than trying to control it. But you know, it's interesting you say that too, because I was watching on what is it, Maui. They had it on the TV screen at this restaurant, and it was last week, and you know, a championship or something like that, but the waves were too small, so they had to call it off. Now yesterday or the day before, they had it again, but they had to call off most of it because the waves were too big. I was like, too big? I thought that's what they thrive for, but I guess they get to a point where, you know, it's too much of a threat.
It can pull you into a way that it can scare. I mean, I've actually had to take my my cord to my board and pull myself up because I was pulled down. So I was pushed down so far on like a wave that was 2 stories high, and it tamed my ego, Todd. It's funny how much.
Dude, that's 2 stories high. You're out of your mind. Yeah, 2 stories high. Whoa, man! I was on a deep sea fishing boat, and they were 2 stories high. I wouldn't want nothing to do with that, and I love the water. Okay, I absolutely love it.
Warrior-like energy. I feel there's that warrior-like that comes through, and that spirit that wants to capture. And I know sometimes the adrenaline may get too pushed up where you're putting yourself into unsafe conditions.
Yeah, that's been part of my journey. You know, driving fast, you know, doing things that are. Now, let me ask you. Okay, so you're not doing the distance Archangel Michael healing yet, but you will be.
I will.
In the meantime, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you? Whether you know, it's distant healing down the road or something local in the greater Washington, D.C. area. As
you know, both Honey and I, we use Facebook as our general source because we are off the system. You know, we literally go through levels where our main communication is through Facebook, obviously emailing. But anytime those that want to inquire and go deeper on Honey Borden, which we're both using that as our mainstream education, as well as my email and my Facebook, that is a great way. And we're also in the DC metropolitan area, we're connecting to centers. So those that are around the DC metropolitan area that are open to this conscious energy, because it is an energy that fits the vibration. I don't just, usually it's either at my home or at a place that holds that energy. As I know, in the next months, as I then go through my practicum of reinforcing that, and I'll see how that all unfolds, then that will be opened up to a greater level where I feel through Facebook again, I'll be placing that out through our travels, through the areas that we visit, obviously in an international level, because what I'm aware of, Todd, is the blessing that I have, and I keep going back to honey, is as these channels and as this energy is coming forward, it's activating so much more. And I feel this in all of us right now. I feel all of us are being activated to raise to our highest vibration. And as that activation is rising and coming through, the more messages are giving us the wisdom that's already within. Like when the ascended masters come through, when the angels come through, and hearing and feeling that vibration, it's then lifting another aspect, and it's allowing that opportunity. So I'm grateful, because I feel in these activations that are coming forward within all of us, it's going to be shifting us. I don't know if you see this, Todd, but I feel it's going to be shifting every single person. I remember like sitting at undergrad at my first university, and the key speaker said, I look at all of you, and I see all of you doing something that has not existed before. Yeah. And the message that I received from Archangel Michael, I really feel we are in this monumental time where our powers are going to be coming through us, and the way showers, the front line of ascension. Now is the time where we're going to be creating the wisdom that obviously was the lost wisdom, the wisdom from Atlantis, from Lemuria, the wisdom that's already innately within us, but now being brought forward. And so I feel very blessed to be along, because what I really see is in that humility in the heart, that humbleness, just to serve, just to be of service, of the light, to the love, and to the expression that each of us can do at any moment in our own meditation, in our own activation, as I'm so blessed to speak to you, brother, and to bring that forward as we're doing on a daily level. So I'm excited, and I'm very looking forward to it. But I know I'm going to take the next several months to harness it, and then once it starts to harness, then to allow that, because I know that's going to open up a whole nother level within my own. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll be 6 or 8 months more into this quantum transition too. So you'll probably be teleporting to places, and it really will be hands-on.
It's interesting how you say about teleporting, Todd. What's really powerful to learn is, we know this already, that it's funny to really think, like, we already have that ability to teleport, to bilocate, and to come into the full trust of using these powers. Yet, I feel right now, this judgment, this doubt, this insecurity that's making its way, and it's filtering and removing the debris from the collective. When we come from that solar plexus, that beautiful confidence, strength, and heart, we build that trust to bring that fire into our most expansive heart and express it outwardly. There are already modalities, and what we've learned through, and which we're still integrating through channels, that we have those abilities now, and we can do this. It's now sinking into that divine trust, strength, and confidence. And so it's exciting in these times to know that's going to be even arising more.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And honey beat me to the punch. She's already got all the links and everything up, but I was going to ask you about this, what you've been doing on Fridays on YouTube.
Yeah. So on Fridays, which has been a blessing, is Honey and I on 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We've been having a little tea time. We've been sharing the messages and just sharing what's been coming forward, because I don't know, Todd, I bet you if you had a camera and you were just to like videotape somehow what's going on you and Morgan, consciously, ethereally, planetary, there is like so much stuff to probably just be like, wow, this could be a movie. So what's coming through is we know that there's messages that want to come forward. to share and to bring forth and just to remind the individuals of how all this is unfolding and how this is moving forward. So I feel that this is going to evolve from not only tea time, but I also feel that this is going to evolve into online classes where Honey and I will start to bring forth to a larger degree, because as you know, through each channel, and Todd, I'll tell you, these channels have been coming through, reminding us of the remembrance of who we are. I'm blessed to be with Honey to be creating a book called Channeling with the Masters. This will be then circulated outwards in the exact transmission that it's been brought forward, to be circulated outwardly and to allow individuals free so that they can see that this is something for everyone to take part of. And that's in a process where I've been transcribing, and know I need to do it a little more in between the healings and the channels and just the chaos of the DC metropolitan area. This is one of our biggest projects to bring forth outwardly, which we'll know by this summer. I feel we're going to be going through a tour of releasing this book and releasing the sacred channels and messages that are here for everyone, because in this time of awakening and in this time of conscious ascension, we are now bringing forth the messages that you're feeling, Todd. I know you're half planetary, half it's interesting.
I'm getting shocked right now. Yeah, it's I think it was those hand movements.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Well, you know, because so much of this stuff's coming through in the nonverbal way too. I was going to say though, I think that's a great idea. I haven't been able to catch one because it's still pretty early for me over here. But I've got a couple of videos saved because I think I've done it about 3 weeks now, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
And but I was going to say that's actually how what you were describing as to what you're doing and why. That's actually how this whole format of Soul Speaks 5D started. Was, you know, it would go back, what, 2 years, maybe 2 years, 2 to 3 years. Morgan and I talking on the phone pretty much every day. And one day I was like, you know, we ought to just record this because, you know, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, it was sharing of information real time. And so I think there's, at least in my work, that to me, that spontaneous thing is the biggest activator. It's you can't get that back. You know, you can't create something like that again. It's just in that moment where the real wisdom and bang and courage and love and everything is the creation.
It's so true, Todd. Because you know what's really funny, which I love about it, when you're live, you're raw.
You don't have any choice. I know, man. You know, it's funny because I haven't made any music. Really, I've done a little bit, but I haven't made any music in. It's been over a year. I put some stuff out like last summer, 2017, and so I over the last week I started writing again, and I started putting some pretty good lyrics together. So I started to, you know, find an instrumental, and that's usually what I used to do. I would just write it, then I'd find the instrumental, and I'd flip it on, and I'd record it. You know, 75, 80 Soul Speaks, and most of them are one take, but they weren't live. There's a difference there, right? So I was like, over the last week, I'm like, man, I ought to just flip this thing on, and I did it a couple of times, and I wasn't ready. So that's a great point. It is. There's something about going live that really brings out an openness, an expansion of, you know, you're past the point of embarrassment, and if you do something embarrassing, you just keep going. And I've done it many times, you know.
Well, but, you know what I love so much about you, Todd, and I think this is inspiring for all of us, for all of our viewers, is when you go live, and humbled and so much gratitude that I'm on your show for the first time. And when I capture those moments, I love that rawness, that ability where you just can't hide and you just have to express whatever's coming through. There's like, it's the most authentic realness of it all. And even myself, when I was younger, I was bullied, picked on because I kept talking all this spiritual mumbo jumbo because people didn't quite understand. So I was a bit shy, and I'll admit I'm still coming forward and becoming comfortable in doing my own live streams. But when I watch you, Todd, and when I see you interact, there's this flow that is so it's so beautiful because it's this interaction of energy that's engaging, activating, and it's true. And I see that in ways that it really inspires. When I see the reactions in the comments, when I see what people are going through, it touches me because it only takes that one moment. Even if it's like you're making fun of yourself, where you're like, oh, it just that one moment where you're like, wow, just to feel that love and heart, it's a beautiful quality. And Honey and I, we love when we see you, that expression. And to me, as a brother, it just inspires me more to get on camera because, you know, a lot of us, we don't want to be seen. We don't want to talk our truth because we might be a little embarrassed. And the more I'm learning is in that area of discomfort, that's where the real growth is. So I bet you, if you turn on that light, I bet you, Todd, you turn on that light and you start rapping and you start doing what you do. You do it already. You know, you do it good already.
Yeah. Well, these are new ones. I don't know. It's some kind of weird. It's some kind of weird metamorphosis I'm going through right now. No, I wanted to say, and thank you for saying that. I want to say that, you know, I contact people, you know, and you know, I just find them or whatever, and I'll say, you know, do you want to come on? What I've noticed over the last few weeks is, and many of the people have never been on, is they're all telling me the same thing. They're saying to me, I know that I'm supposed to do this. I know my time is coming, or I knew you were going to hit me up. and they're like, I know it's coming. I'm not quite ready. Nice. And I think that ready is about to come. And I think that's where 2019 comes in, but it is. And I will say this to everyone out there that's listening on the replay or live. Thank you for bringing it up, Michael. Whether you want, you know, the labels, forget it. You know, it's a frequency. You want to call it Blu-ray, way shower, you know, grid keeper, light keeper, whatever it is. The time is now. Right. The time is almost here. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so close. You might as well say it's here. So we were here at Soulogy Network to support anyone and everyone who's coming from that place of innocence, genuine, the power, the childlike wonder, the raw. We're continuing to build without a linear deadline. This multiple channel the network that's going to be available on a handheld app. Yeah. And my vision is that everyone has their own channel, and we incorporate that all into one URL so that we draw the superabundance, and it's distributed proportionate to the contribution, which is all going to be transparent. And it's part of our effort to bring in this 5D commerce as well as superabundance. So,
and Todd, one more thing, that do you also, and I know you know this already, but do you feel this? Because I feel when you're speaking and you're really integrating, you're holding yourself very present. And again, just one thing about being live and raw, we know there's a power in this present moment. We know there's a level. And what I really see about you that inspires me and inspires myself to get more on the camera is, you know, you're an activator. There's this activation that's automatically happened beyond what we're saying, what the message is, how much we're laughing. There's this energetic frequency that's happening. And what's so beautiful, Todd, is, you know, from Kauai to Germantown to around the world, this message is spreading, not only in the physical realm, but on the collective. And what's beautiful is, you know, even when we're not ready, even when you contacted me and I was like, whoa, am I ready? And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Still kind of like, camera, am I ready for people to hear in my own self-judgment, which, being very honest, it's this activation that really humbles me, because when I see that and I see that interaction, then I start to see how much can be affected, because we are in the technological advancement of social media. And as much as when I was living off the grid in Mexico and literally off of everything, not even barely on email, I see the value, Todd, of how these messages and what's coming forward, especially in the new digital realm, that this is circulating so high. So I'm just blessed and just so full of what I see now rising to say, okay, here's a man, here's a leader, Now let's step forward in how each and every one of us, because what happens if we did 30 seconds, turn on the live camera and just be completely idiotic? You know, that humility in the heart, one message that came and brought me to tears. The true master is the one that has the humility in the heart and the humbleness, because that's the one that shows not a sense of what's in here, but everything within our heart. And I find that humility, that grace, that truth comes forth when we can just call our shit out, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because if I look at, you know, 3,000 plus videos, and I see it in other people, but I can only think of my own situation. There's the times I've just known, well, it's been many times, but I mean these really intense times. Like I remember one time it was a child molestation memory hit me. And then another one was after Morgan left this time, my passport got turned down and I just hit the wall, you know. But I heard very distinctly, pick up the phone, turn on the camera, and just start talking. I had no idea what I was going to say, but what you're talking about is real. And what I mean by that is I see it 642 shows. This is a 642 show here. That what happens is it's not what the people say. It's you know, that's why somebody can come on and do light language. Now Yukia was going to come on today and do a light language. I was going to back her with music. We've done it before. It's always really activating, but the conversation was real-time intel. It was just boom, 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 boom. And the whole hour went by that like that. So it doesn't matter what they're talking about. It's just what it is. It's the intention of the heart of the intention. And that is that invisible to the human, energetic, etheric impact that we're having through this, you know, highest physical manifestation of the ethers we call the internet. So you're right about that.
How cool is it, Tad? To do it from Hawaii. I'm so envious of it. You're on a freaking island surrounded by tropical. I mean, I can't tell you how much I miss the mangoes, the papayas, the fresh fruit.
That's, oh my God, that's crazy, man.
I mean,
I went to Lisa Transcendence Brown's house, man, and there's like fruit. There's like 75 fruit trees, man. There's fruits I've never seen before. I made one. We boiled it, and then it's a fruit. It's called breadfruit, I think, and it looks like a giant pineapple, and it tastes like a carb. So I made potato salad with it. I never had potato salad made with fruit, but it tastes just like, it actually tastes better than potatoes. But yeah, I don't, you know, and the thing is, people say, well, yeah, you know, how long are you going to be here? I have no idea. One thing I do know is I don't know anything. And the other thing I do know is that universal voice, like you were talking about earlier, when it speaks, you just know. I mean, you know, like I didn't know I was coming here. I never would have thought I was coming here. But so I think we're all going to be doing, I think there's going to be a lot of moving around. There's already people doing it, what you and Honey have been doing. And I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see more people stepping up. And Soulogy Network is here to support anybody that wants to do that. We're just can do what we can do today technologically, and we're moving and making progress every single day. So Michael, I'm all for supporting you as you want to get out. I have met you personally, and having a conversation with you here today is the same thing as having met personally. So you obviously have gotten the jitters worked out.
Thank you. I think part of it is it's just you're in this all of just meeting someone that you could just feel this innate relationship, and in that innate relationship, there's that just beauty of being like, wow.
Well, there's no doubt about that. We I don't know if we go back 11,000 years, but we go back quite a bit.
Well, you know,
all right, brother.
The one thing that I'm looking forward to before you head off is it's going to be fun when Honey and I and you and Morgan all come together, and we can just feel the presence of what happens, because there's a lot of power in the mass.
That'll be amazing.
Energy that comes through. So,
I have a feeling that won't be too long from now.
you just put the sign up in Hawaii, here we come. But thank you, Todd. I from the bottom of my heart, I'm really grateful. I'm very thankful, and just really just fully inspired of what is being brought forward, because right now I feel we as men, we as the masculine energy, are really is the lifting point in this crucial dynamic of the collective right now. I feel the feminine energy is right now. Their eyes are wide open and they're looking at the masculine, and we're rising right now.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's beautiful.
it's game on, man.
Is
Lights on, lights are on, games on,
goes
and
up.
that energy. It's right. It's time. It's time.
Right.
That's it. That's all I can say. It's time. You know, enough is enough. That's the way that's how I feel. That frequency feels to me. It's like this one. You know, it's time. There's nothing else to talk about. So
yeah, we're just doing it.
Well, I appreciate it. We'll hook back up with you and Honey, or Honey with the Dragons,
Sure.
very soon in December. And thank you so much, my brother.
Thank
I
you.
really
Much
enjoyed
love
it.
and blessings, and catch away from me out in the Kauai. You know, it could be a little, you know, just paddle into it, feel the board, feel the love. I promise you, when you come back, you're gonna be like, wow.
I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. I'm probably gonna wait till Morgan gets here so she can watch me.
If you just a little way aside, just let Mama Ocean push you and just feel the flow of the ocean, because there's nothing. I mean, in my heart, there's nothing better when you're on a wave and you're just feeling the power of Mother Earth.
Well, I've done a lot of body surfing, and you know, I've never lived in a place where you did a lot of surfboarding because it wasn't big enough. But I've done a lot of body surfing. I've done it in Huntington Beach. I lived in California for a while, but yeah, I want to get up on that board. I'm gonna give it a shot. I may be surfing in the soup, but that's okay.
All right. I'll pull behind you.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Well, blessings to you, brother. Thank you for today's show. Appreciate
it. Man. You take care. Hugs and kisses to you and Honey. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back in 2 hours and 15 minutes.